it affects our future. I think in even Western culture, the word karma is well known, even non-religious people, and many people use the word in their daily conversation. I think most of people kind of believe in this concept, but at the same time, it has some religious connotation because it's invisible. Yeah, that's the very reason. Buddha said our actions turn to energy and remain for a long time. This is called karmic energy. It's a literal translation from Chinese or Japanese language. And sometimes because it has strong power, it's compared to seeds. You know, when we plant seeds, it will germinate and grow and bear fruits. Seeds have strong power to germinate and grow. Even the seeds is a little bit old. Yeah, seeds contains its power, retains its power, and once it's planted, it will surely germinate even after 10 years or 50 years. Sometimes seeds can be preserved in a frozen land of Siberia for 1,000 or 4,000 years. And then once it's planted in a warm soil, yeah, it germinated. So energy is invisible. Yeah, any kind of energy is invisible, right? Electricity, radio wave, or nuclear energy, or heat. Even heat is energy, and it's invisible. That's why sometimes we have our finger burnt because of invisible energy of heat. Even if it's invisible, it has strong power. So as a starter, let me share with you an interesting episode from history. In 19th century, even among doctors, nobody knew germ theory. Germ theory is now a common sense. A lot of disease are caused by very little living being, which is called germ. Yeah, germs are a little different from virus, but from my viewpoint, they are almost the same. But germ is bigger than virus, but still it's invisible. And in 19th century, in Austria, there was one big hospital, and in one clinic in this hospital, the mortality rate among mothers after giving birth was very high. In one clinic, let me share with you a slide. In one clinic, the mortality rate was almost 14%. It's very high. And another clinic in the same hospital, mortality rate was very little. Oh, sorry. In Clinic A, the mortality rate was 18%. In another clinic was less than 4%. And there was a obstetrician whose name was Ignaz Semmelweis. By the way, he's very famous now. I'll talk about it later. he became curious and started his own investigation. And then Semmelweis realized that these physicians in Clinic A had usually come directly from autopsies. And the childbed fever, which is the name of the cause of this death of mothers, is a contagious disease. He postulated that the existence of the cadaveric matter as the cause of the disease. So he encouraged doctors and nurses to practice hand washing with chlorinated lime, and this habit started. And then maternal mortality rate in the doctor's ward, which is Clinic A, dropped to around the same level as the midwife's ward, which is Clinic B. So in this way, he contributed a lot to the safety of the mothers. That's why his name is now well known in the medical science. So from today's viewpoint, it's not so surprising because those doctors in Clinic A didn't wash their hands and then taking care of the mothers giving birth. Naturally, they suffered from infections. But even after this, many doctors opposed Semmelweis' idea. And those doctors thought that was kind of an insult to the doctors. I don't know what they were thinking actually, but Semmelweis was put into mental institution and died a very premature death at the age of 47. I don't know what really happened. I had a lot of speculation, but still they had difficulty in believing in the existence of such cadaveric matter or germ. So I think Semmelweis followed the very basic principle of science. There are 4 basic principles in science. Okay, let me share it with you.
It it's sharing now. Good.
Oh, I forgot to stop sharing. Okay, not this one. Sometimes I click the wrong button. 4 foundations of
It
science.
doesn't show when you go to the bigger slide.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, it's good. Good.
4 foundation of science, which is observation, experiment, calculation, and hypothesis. First, scientists observe the phenomena, and then they do some experiment and try to reproduce the phenomena in the laboratory. And then they do some calculation, a lot of calculation, and then they establish hypothesis. And other scientists should do the same experiment again and again to verify the truthfulness. So reproducibility is very important. But what comes first is observation. We, or scientists, observe the phenomena through their eyes and ears sometimes. But if something is invisible, it's it cannot be the object of science. So scientists should detect something through device. Yeah, scientists can use device like by binocular or whatever. And then they detect something, and then for the first time, they can start their work. But something invisible cannot be the object of science or physics or medical science. But I think there is one, so if somebody has really scientific mindset, he might argue back when they hear the concept of karma, because it's not scientific. The people say it sounds as if science is almighty, but there's a limitation in the scientific field. It's the limitation of human five senses or six senses. No, five senses. Six senses, not scientific at all. So something that's inaudible, invisible, cannot be scientific. Yeah, that's the limitation of science and human wisdom. But sometimes something that cannot be explained with logic happens in our day-to-day lives. The other day, I was having a video call with my friend who lives in Japan. And we have a common friend who lives in another country. And this third person was out of contact for the past 3 months. And then we were talking about this common friend. What is he doing now? And we're talking, and in his country, there are a lot of blackouts. So we were talking like, oh, maybe he didn't have enough electricity or internet connection. And then among that, during that conversation, suddenly I got the text message from this person. It was as if he was hearing our conversation. Yeah, we can call it just it's a coincidence, but the Buddha said nothing happens without a cause. If something happens, there was a cause. So, yeah, this is human telepathy, or Buddha also said human beings have supernatural power. By training, we can develop such power. That's one of the miracles or wonders in the human world, Buddha said. And before I finish my talk, I have to mention one thing more. Even among scientists or physics, there are new areas that deals with something invisible. It's very interesting and intriguing. And I'm not very familiar with physics, but I know it's called quantum physics. And one of the intriguing concepts in quantum physics is metaverse. It says this universe is not the only universe. People in the past thought it's only universe, so it's called universe. Uni means one, right? But it's not only one universe. There are many, many universes. So they are called collectively multiverse. And when I heard this concept 7 years ago, I thought, okay, there might be 3 or 5 more universe. That was my concept understanding of metaverse. But no, it's not just 3 or 5. The number of metaverse is like 10 to the power 100 or 500. The number was astronomical, so I forgot. But it's astronomical number of universes, no, metaverses exist, but they are invisible. So there are still discussion or debate among physicists, but many scientists now approve this. So even science deals with something invisible because part of the foundation of quantum physics is reproducible. So they have strong foundation. So now human wisdom is so limited, but as time passes by, science will make great advances in the future. Maybe one day people come to understand and accept the power of karma. So even if it's invisible and indetectable, it affects our future and it will shape our destiny. So this is the very basic foundation of the law of karma. Our karma shapes our future. And our future is not fixed at all. Many people believe that our destiny is kind of fixed because our character is already kind of fixed in their idea, and our conditions are limited. We were born in a specific country, specific neighborhood, under a specific parent and specific gender and ability, and everything was decided when we were born. It is as if our future was kind of fixed at that time. So no matter how much effort we make, we cannot change our future so much. But this notion is not so true. Based on the law of karma that was taught by Buddha, actually we are creating our future year by year, month by month, day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, or second by second, because we are creating a lot of karma every moment. So once you understand how karma works and apply the law of karma to our daily action, that's the moment our spiritual journey starts. And at the end of this journey, we can achieve true happiness, spiritual awakening, enlightenment, true happiness. So this is a basic introduction to the law of karma. And that's all I wanted to share today. So before we start the next one, let's have a very short break. And I'll play music a little bit. Okay. Next is purpose-driven lab.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Yuichi, for sharing with us about karma. It's a very hopeful message once we understand it, the basics of it. That's why we have actually 4 meetups in a week where we get to talk about it and ask questions. And that's how we really understand it to the deeper level, in addition to the one-on-one sessions that Yuichi and I conduct. So hope everyone gets a chance to reach out if you're interested. Yeah, karma is very hopeful because our future, like we learned from Yuichi, our future is something that we are shaping instead of feeling that we are at the mercy of fate or someone else's determination of how our future is supposed to look. That's very scary. And that's how we kind of little by little start asking the question about why we live. That's what we talk about in our purpose and meaning lab in the meetup. When we go through struggles and hardships in life, we start wondering, what is the point of it all? Why was I born? Why am I living? And why do we have to keep on living if life becomes painful? All these questions have something to do with finding the purpose and meaning of life. Like Yuichi explained about the 4 foundations of science, it starts with observation. I think in a sense, we can say all humans are kind of like scientists because we observe a lot if we pay attention. Sometimes, like, I have a little kitten. He observes a lot actually too. He's very curious, obviously. So he pays a lot of attention to what's going on. But sometimes, we just go through life without observation and we miss out. But when we observe a lot, especially if you're an empath like I am, we begin to see so much pain and suffering. It's like from every corner, we hear voices of grief and sorrows. So all the more we question why we are alive, how can we find happiness that makes us feel, oh, this is why I'm alive. I'm so grateful and glad to be alive, to be here, and so grateful for everyone and everything that is supporting my life. So yeah, maybe before we get into it, it's a very heavy topic, as you can see, but yeah, we have one joke. Jokes are very good for us to kind of help us maintain our sense of humor and enjoy the journey of life while we are looking for our ultimate purpose and not fall into despair. We need to celebrate like small victories and progress forward. So this joke is about 3 guys. They were having some kind of conversation about their mortality, and it was like they were asking, what are you going to do? Or what do you want people now? Are you going to do? It would be funny during the funeral. So it's the funeral and people have gathered to celebrate your life. What do you want people to say about you? And yeah, so the first guy was like, oh, I want people to say that I was a good father. I took very good care of my children. And I was very hardworking and I supported my kids' lives until they became adults. And the other guy said, okay, I want, when people come to my funeral, I want them to say that, I was a very diligent scientist. I paid attention to a lot of experiments that I was conducting. And I was very honest at my work. That's what I want people to say at my funeral. And the third person said, oh, when it's my funeral, I want people to say, hey, look, he's moving. Yeah, it's a very funny joke because it kind of also shows us how much we don't want to die for most of us. And if we ask ourselves why, could it be because we need some more time to do something? So what is that something? That's how we can start asking ourselves about the purpose of life, the meaning of life. What is it that I have to accomplish in life So whenever it's time for me to go, I can go without regret. So to live life in a way that we can be content to live and content to die. So what should we do to get to that stage? And yeah, so actually we're gonna read one story. This is one of the textbooks we have. It's called Something You Forgot Along the Way, Stories of Wisdom and Learning by Kentetsu Takamori. It's on Amazon.com. It's a very good book for beginners. And we're gonna read the story number 38 on page 103. And I think Yuichi is gonna kindly share the screen for us. Yeah, thank you. Okay. So let's read the story once. If you are caught up in the here and now, you lose sight of the future, the wisdom of Napoleon. Napoleon returned home in triumph after successive victories over Italy and Austria. The people welcomed him in a frenzy of jubilation with illuminations, parades and banners, torches and bells, and gun salutes. One of Napoleon's men offered him respectful congratulations. "Sire, it must gratify you to receive such a rousing welcome." To his surprise, Napoleon answered coolly, "Don't talk nonsense. It is a great mistake to enjoy such a superficial fuss. If circumstances were slightly different, these same people would be clamoring to the guillotine just as loudly. Nothing is so unreliable as the welcome of a mass of blind followers." And then there's another story here. The great swordsman Chiba Shusaku, 1794 to 1855, went fishing one night with several of his followers. They set out with torches, heading farther and farther to sea in search of fish, until they lost all sense of direction. Which way was the shore? Shusaku himself grew flustered and had a series of torches lit, while he peered in vain into the gloom. As they roamed the sea with mounting panic, the last of the torches burned out. The situation seemed hopeless. But lo and behold, as darkness settled in, there in the distance was the outline of land, looming darker still. The man whooped in relief and joy. Days later, Shusaku recounted the incident to a fisherman friend of his. The friend said smilingly, "That wasn't like you. You should know that you can't see the shore with torches. Torches are used to light up your immediate surroundings. If you want to see into the distance, they only get in the way. When we want to look far off, we douse them on purpose. As long as you rely on torches, you cannot make out the distant shore. If you are caught up in the here and now, you cannot look ahead into the future." Yeah, this is a very profound story that we can meditate on for hours to understand what it's really telling us. And most people think Buddhism is telling us just be here and now, forget about the future. Actually, that's kind of a misconception of Buddhism. We cannot really separate the future from the present, because future is continually becoming this present moment. They are connected, inseparable. So just to live in here and now, forgetting about the future, it's easier said than done. And what happens is that why is it we cannot make out of where the distant shore is? It's because we are relying on these torches. So torches being symbolic here of kind of short-term happiness that we rely on constantly in order to feel that we are okay, that we feel our life is meaningful. But then it's like distracting us from finding that distant shore, which is symbolic for enlightenment. although we are made of desires, and of course we have a lot of needs every day. We have to go to work, we have to take care of our family members and ourselves, obviously. As a spiritual practitioner, we try not to allow those desires to make us go away from our real purpose in life. So real purpose in life cannot be a kind of happiness that's like a torch or like firework we launched into the sky that vanishes. Its light vanishes so quickly and dissipates. That's only short-term goals or something that helps us see a little bit or just find a little bit comfort here and now in order to get energized and keep moving, looking for the shore. Because shore is it's such a solid land. Once you arrive at the shore, especially once we are in the ocean, it's like so turbulent. You never know when something is going to go wrong. There is no peace of mind. But once you arrive at the shore, you step on the land, which is very solid. You feel so grounded. Only then we can say, I'm so happy I went through all the turbulent journey in the sea. I'm so glad I arrived at this place of security. So that's one thing we can kind of meditate on. And it's okay if answers don't come to us right away. Yeah, it's a work in progress as we think about our life's purpose and meaning. And so we want to meditate on how much do we allow for these short-term goals, mid-term goals to kind of distract us from our life's ultimate goal, which is happiness, of finding that true peace of mind and security. And then the first story we read about Napoleon, what we learned from that story is like, if we always follow other people blindly, then obviously we're not gonna find our authentic self or our authentic purpose in life. But if we look back at our lives, especially when we were younger, probably that's how we live life. We just follow, okay, what should I study? We look at what other people study or where they go to school. We just kind of follow. And what we discussed in the past 2 weeks in our meetups, we have this book, it's by Robert Greene, Mastery. I think he does a very good job in explaining about how to go about finding our inner calling. And he talks about the importance of avoiding the false path. The false path is the path that is set in front of us by other people. It's like we drown the inner voice that is telling us, this is who I am, this is what I want to offer the world, this is what I want to contribute, what kind of impact I want to have. We kind of drown that voice, and we sometimes try to follow others blindly. That becomes the false path. It's not authentic, obviously. So Robert Greene talks about the rebellion strategy. We need to be true to ourselves if we want to find our life's purpose. So I think that's what Napoleon is saying here too, that people, they just change. If you're convenient for them, they say, yeah, you're a good person. But as soon as you stop being convenient for them, they label you as a bad person. So nothing is so unreliable as the welcome of a mass of blind followers. Yeah, so in this way, we need to go within for answers and be authentic with ourselves to find out our life's ultimate purpose. But I think as we all experience a lot of hardships in life, we begin to see, even if we accomplish something big, like we become the CEO of a company, or we save so much money in the bank, no matter how great of success we can experience, like if we're true to ourselves deep inside, we realize, okay, what's next? So what should I do next? It's like, it's never enough. So that's one way we can prove how these short-term goals or what the standards of society are is not giving us the happiness that satisfies the soul. So purpose of life, meaning of life, it has something to do with finding a kind of happiness that satisfies the soul. And this is something only that individual can say for himself or herself. Yeah, because we are true. I mean, inside we know what we are thinking, what really is true for us. So that's why a lot of meditation, soul searching people do, spiritual people engage in order to find that out. And going towards the shore of enlightenment. So today we talked about basically we need to find our own voice. So we should not blindly follow other people. Maybe when they're younger, there is a time for that. But eventually, as we grow into adulthood, we have to find out our true calling. And in order to see the shore of enlightenment, the happiness that holds us fast, never to abandon us, we need to not become a slave to our endless desires, which are symbolic in that story, like the torches or the fireworks that we launch into the sky. Of course, it brightens the dark sky of the night for a while. So sometimes maybe we do need that, but we shouldn't get carried away by it and become a slave and then forget what was our life's purpose. We don't want to ask that question when it's too late. So every day we have these chances to ask ourselves, and in our meetups, we cover one aspect of it. So thank you for this opportunity for me to be here and share with you some of what we covered in the meetups. And I'll pass the baton to Yuichi for some more music before we go on to the next segment.
Okay. Okay. Then, lastly, I'm going to share the summary of the happiness lab. Buddha taught true happiness, which is the ultimate goal of Buddhism. Yeah, which is enlightenment and spiritual awakening. And at the same time, Buddha shared a lot of daily practices, which bring us more happiness. Yeah, in the process and on the journey. So Buddhist path is great. We will experience more happiness day to day, and eventually we'll achieve happiness that will never crumble, happiness that will never fade away. So this topic we discussed last time was about our journey and our daily practice. I explained the ultimate goal, but what is the beginning of our journey? This is also very unique. The very beginning, the starting point of Buddhism is explained in the Four Noble Truths. The number one truth is very well known, which is life is suffering. And at the beginning of his teaching history, Buddha shared 8 suffering. Before I get into the topic of 8 suffering, let me share with you one interesting quote from British writer Samuel Butler. Yeah, he said, is this okay, Dita? You see
Yes,
that?
it's okay.
Okay. Life is like playing a violin solo in public and learning the instrument as one goes on. Wow. I'm not a violinist, but I can imagine how difficult it must be playing a violin solo in public. And I don't know how to play the violin. Wow. And it's an analogy of life. So naturally, we make a lot of mistakes and we experience a lot of moments of embarrassment and then also a lot of regret because we don't make best choice each time when we come to a fork on the road of life. Which way should I take? And then we think and think, and sometimes we cannot sleep at night and think, but we make wrong choice. And then we regret a lot later. And then people always think about their past. If I had made a different choice, maybe I would have been much happier or I would have been richer, blah, blah, blah. And people have this habit. Yeah, I think many people have this habit. It's like daydreaming. What if? Because, yeah, everything, all these kind of bad habit is caused by this reality. Life is suffering. Life is hard uh, because it's our first time. Everything we experience for the first time becomes very difficult. Yeah, I like cooking, so sometimes I try new recipe, and because I don't have enough time to do all the research or looking up and googling, excuse me. So sometimes, or more often, I do it on my own style, and then I fail greatly, and then I regret. But the second time, I learned something at the first time, so the result becomes better. And the third time, a little better, and then fourth time, fifth time, and then in the end, that dish becomes my favorite or my mm, go-to recipe. I mean, I can do it without thinking. So we learn from our experience, but life is full of such new experience. So mistake comes with territory. So we have the habit of feeling regret, and we have habit of ruminating on that. And in the Dharma talk, in the lecture of Buddhism, we learn good practice, and we learn a lot, and we think, okay, I'm gonna put it into practice. But in many cases, we take a lot of time to start it, to actually put it into practice. Yeah, this is universal problem of procrastination. In the time of Buddha, this was already common among people, even among Buddhist disciples. So one time he shared this analogy and gave a little bit caution to his disciple. So it's an analogy of a of an imaginary bird, which is called a cold suffering bird. An imaginary bird said to live in the Himalayas who forgets the cold of night as soon as morning comes. If I give a little bit of explanation, this bird suffers a lot because of extremely low temperature in the Himalayas. So this bird makes a decision. Okay, I don't want to experience this bitter cold anymore. So I'm gonna build a cozy nest next day. I will surely make one. But when the dawn comes and the temperature goes up little by little, and in the daytime, the weather is so comfortable. And because he has a lot of friends to play around with and goofing around with, so he becomes suddenly busy with playing and singing and flying around. So he completely forgets about building a cozy nest. And when the night comes, again, he makes deep regret. Oh, why I forgot about building a nest. Okay, next day, I will surely make one. But again, he forgets. And playing around, he repeats, bird repeats this again and again. That was Buddha's brief lecture. So when we learn something very important, the key to practicing it is very simple. We started today. Yeah. Thinking that I'm going to do it tomorrow is the devil's tongue. In this way, people eventually forget about it, or we take notes of something important, but eventually we forget where we wrote it, which page. Sometimes we take note on a piece of paper, but we miss the paper, we lose the paper. And we just take it easy, and then we feel good by taking a note. But taking a note is not the purpose. We have to write it in our brain. So first, we try to memorize it if something is very important. Of course, memorizing something is not easy. So the best way to memorize something important is to share it. Yeah, writing is not enough. We need to kind of say it or recite it with our with our lips. If we have somebody who can listen to us, who can hear us, that would be better. So yeah, saying with our lips, we can record it. But they say sharing means learning twice. So when we learn something important in Dharma talk, sharing is a great practice because we learn twice and other person will learn Buddha's wisdom. So Buddha said, giving Dharma is the best form of kindness. Let me share with you 6 types of good deed taught by Buddha. It's called 6 paramitas. Giving and keeping promises, patience, effort, making effort, self-reflection, self-cultivation. I chose the easier part of the definition. Yeah, so all in all, there are 6. Among them, giving is the easiest, and wisdom is the most difficult. So in our Dharma talk, we always, not always, but most of the time we talk about giving. Yeah, and then we should practice this in our day-to-day lives. So we can give a lot of different stuff, money, or food, or any kind of material stuff. And also we can give non-material stuff. One of them, which is easiest, is showing smile on our faces. This is already one form of giving. And there are 7 types of non-material giving. Yeah, smiling is one of them. And in addition to material giving and non-material giving, there is an outstanding form of giving. That is Dharma giving. So if we share certain teaching of Buddha, that's Dharma giving. And that's the greatest form of giving. And anybody can practice this. So, yeah, just the basic teaching, this teaching of 6 parameters, also good. It's easy to understand. So, actually, 6 parameter just means almost 90% of Buddhism. Doing good deeds and refraining from bad deeds. This is the foundation of Buddhism. This is all about our journey. And then there is something more in an advanced level. So, yeah, without procrastinating it, we should start something today. If we make a little bit change today after learning something, then we can continue that important practice the following day and the next day and the next. So we make a little bit change every day. And by cascade effect, after 3 days or 3 weeks or 3 months and 3 years, we will surely experience very big change in our life. So I mentioned many, this is Japanese kind of expression. 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, and 3 years. So one should make this as our midterm goal or short-term goal. And then without our knowing, this new practice become our second nature or our good habit, and kind of effortlessly, if you can overcome 3 days of the hurdle of 3 days, 3 weeks, then you can achieve the hurdle of 3 months. If you can reach the hurdle of 3 months, 3 years is not so difficult. In the Karma Lab summary, I explained the strong power of karma. One of the strong karma is our mind. We should not downplay the strong influence of calm of the mind. So we should always keep our mindset positive. This is also important. So without feeling regret, we should focus on planting seed. Feeling regret or ruminating has a negative impact. And we don't realize its negative impact, but actually it has negative impact. So instead of such negative mental habit, we should focus on planting good seed with our mind, speech, and the body. Okay, now it's almost the end of today's Dharma talk. Vita, could you finish as an MC?
Okay, very good. Thank you, Yuichi, for your talk about happiness as well. So let us celebrate every small progress we make in building good habits. So obviously it takes time, so we don't need to be too harsh on ourselves. Every little progress we make, we can cherish and celebrate it. And then 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years, before we know it, it becomes second nature, more and more effortless. And we can see that life can be beautiful once we gain that wisdom. We become one with it. We integrate it all. We can enjoy that wisdom and become full of gratitude at obviously the Dharma and every teacher who brought the Dharma to us, and everyone and everything that's supporting our life to be alive and experience this joy of being here. And thank you to our technology staff members who made this possible for us to make it go live on YouTube. And and we have the link. I'll put it on Meetup. Yeah, so for the future sessions, you can access it also. And good job, everyone, for being here, and have a pleasant evening. Hope to see you next time as well. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.